Hello guys, this is Jigs TV, and September is approaching, end of August. For many it's known as the kingfish season. The season starts from kingfish, the Spanish mackerel, king mackerel. There is many names for that fish, and many people are asking questions now: what are the best lures, best jigs, or best methods to use for the kingfish? So let's talk about them today. So the kingfish is the pelagic fish which feeds a lot on the juvenile fish, on the bait fish like anchovies, sardine, mullets, ballyhoo, garfish, and many others. Especially like they are feeding on top of the water, they are feeding on the bottom of the water, and they are feeding in the mid water. They have different patterns, but the main thing is about kingfish. This fish never stays in one place. It always moves. It comes and goes. They could come and feed near the shores for about an hour. It could be like for 10 minutes only. It could be like for a couple of hours. You never know. And usually there is a big ones, small ones, and this is like a very popular fish, and it has a nice fight, and it's a great catch, and tasty fish, and many people like to catch it, and it's a very thought about trophy in UAE. So, and now as we are approaching the season, many people are asking questions: what are the best lures, what are the best jigs to catch the kingfish? So let's talk about them a little bit. I'm gonna try to make it as short as possible, and at the end I will just give you like 5-6 lures which are the top most used by me, for example, and but I will speak in general about the lures and their differences for the first and one of the most important type of lures which are used in the beginning of the season when the kingfish is feeding on very small anchovies, very small sardines, or mackerels, when they are, or juvenile fish, the one like after the spring there is many fish already laid the eggs and stuff, and so there is a lot of small fish around, so they're feeding a lot on juvenile fish around September. And the juvenile fish, if probably you've seen sometime, and some people caught fish and they showed, or you open the stomach of the kingfish. The juvenile fish is usually like a very small in size. So the beginning of the season will be good to start with a short type of lures, let's say from 80 millimeters and up to 105 millimeters. These lures are going to be the most used and the most advantageous, because this is going to resemble exactly the same type of food they're feeding on. Like for example, I will show you one of the most famous ones that are used for the kingfish around that season. It's this kind of small lures. They are around 90 millimeters, very small lures, and if you can see them, comparing to my hand, this is like one of my index fingers. Very small lures. They usually come in different weights, but in average the weight will be between 20 to 35 gram. So this one, especially the heavier ones, like for example this lure I have is 27 gram. This one is around 28 gram. So this one, for example, is around 28 grams. So they are very similar in size. It's somewhere between 20 to 30, some of them to 30, up to 35 gram. So this makes this lure to fly further because of the small body shape and high aerodynamics, and at the same time being heavy, you can cast this very far. These lures are played fast retrieves. And especially, kingfish, they like fast retrieves. They are pelagics and they are hunting not injured fish. They are hunting the real fish, the real food, and that's why they like to see someone running from them, and this provokes the attack. So that's why the fast retrieves for these lures are very important. Most of them are sinking, so the best part is that you can cast on the frenzies and just retrieve them on top, or you can cast them and let them drop all the way to the bottom if the kingfish is not feeding on top, and you can just retrieve it from bottom to up, you know, towards your side, and also they will chase them and attack them. The only disadvantage of these lures is that they are short, and if you are getting big kingfish around the area, they might swallow the whole lure, which sometimes make a problem. They will cut your leader. I mean, kingfish is not like barracuda. It's their teeth are not that sharp as the barracuda teeth, so you have still like advantage. So try to use somewhere around 30-29 lb leaders, just for the advantage of at least, you know, like it can withstand the teeth of the kingfish, or you use a wire leader, which is you know, might decrease some of the bites, you know, the amount of bites or strikes, but at the same time you will be on the safe side, especially with these lures. One of the methods to avoid the cut of the, you know, once they swallow or something, try to make a very hard strike. So once you strike, you know, once they bite it, you get a strike, try to set the hook as soon as possible, so the hook will be somewhere on the edge of the jaw, so it can swallow it completely. So in that case you have more advantages to use that. The second option after this type of lures, so there is many type, you know, from Ima, from Jackson, from Bass Day, some of a vibration. It has a similar type of play, but it will vibrate, and it will give you one additional advantage, because this type of lures, they have a different play, and the vibration has a play of just vibrating in the water. After these lures, the next step I would go, like for this type of season, for the beginning of the season, is going to be a jigs, metal jigs. Metal jigs, mostly in more prolonged shapes, different long shapes, long shape type of jigs, and used with both with assist and treble. Why assist and treble? Is because, again, the sharp teeth, one assist is not enough, and the treble hook will give you the advantage, you know. So if you are just retrieving a jig on the frenzy, or if you are trying to set the hook, you have more advantages, you know, to set the hook, because kingfish, they have a very hard jaw, and to penetrate that, it's not an easy task, you know, so you'll need to strike properly. And if you have only one single assist, you will have less chances. So that's why treble will be additional support and additional you know, hooking up point. So that's why I would suggest jigs between 20 to 40 gram up to your rod, with more longer body shape, as you see. This will decrease the chances of getting cut, and at the same time they could be used both for retrieving and playing from the bottom up or in the mid water with the fast jerks. Usually fast action is more liked by kingfish, and jigs is one of the things to be in the box, you know, especially like when you're hunting fish in the beginning of the season. And they, as you see, they resemble small fish, small type of fish, and they will be attacked if there is any kingfish around. After that, you know, like when you were going a bit deeper into the season, when the kingfish, the juvenile fish starts growing up, and the kingfish start feeding on a bit more bigger type of fish, then you will start going to some lures which are bigger in size. So you will start increasing in size, like 120 millimeters. 120 millimeter type of lures, like 120 millimeters. These ones are comparatively bigger. Let's see, like in size, for example, they are comparatively bigger than the previous lures, but because the kingfish starts feeding on the ballyhoos, on some mackerels, on some scads, you know, some different type of fish, and their size grows, so, and the appetite of the kingfish grows, so they start using the much more, you know, bigger shape of fish. So that's why 120 millimeters. You can still use the 90 and go try out the 120 millimeters, and this will be good choice. And at the same time, try to use 120 millimeters jerk baits. The jerk baits, what's nice about them, they dip much more further, and they have more vibration shape, a more vibration type of play, because of their lip. Their lip is much bigger comparatively to the minnow itself. The minnow will be playing mostly on the top of the water, on the surface, or around 1 meter from the surface, and it will be just like a fast play, you know, fast ballyhoo or something running from the kingfish or from any other fish. But the jerk bait will resemble mostly like a scat type fish, like mullets, and it will have much more deeper vibration, and it will go deeper in the water also, like 1 to 1.5 meter, and depends how much is your rod tip. If you put the rod tip up, it will go up. If you put rod tip down, it will go more deeper, you know, so you can control the depth with that. And different type of jerk baits are good, and at the same time jerk baits, you know, like are going to be a good point when you're at the end of the retrieve. You might catch fish near the rocks, which are like groupers and snappers and some barracudas and others. So in that case, you know, deeper into the season, you can start using both minnows, and minnows would be preferably mostly like a morning time, you know, sunrise, sunset time, you know, when the fish becomes active. And when the fish start becoming less active, you can go for the jerk baits. Of course, I mean, you can use the jerk baits early in the morning too, but I mean, it's like, what's the difference between them? That it's, you know, the minnows are good for the most active fish, because when the fish is active and they are feeding, they will just chase whatever is running out from them. And the jerk baits are going to be just played a bit slower than that. And when you go again much more deeper into season, so let's say from October and towards until February mostly, you can mix up with most of the lures, but because the bait fish grows up and the kingfish grows up, you know, there is bigger kingfish on the shores, and they start feeding, you know, like it's if you were kingfish, or me, I was kingfish, you know, you would spend same time of energy to catch a food. You can catch small fish, eat it, but you'll need like 3 or 4 of them, or you feed on something one big, but you use the same type of energy. So probably that's the idea of how the kingfish thinks. So they start attacking much more bigger lures, and they are interested in bigger bait. And you can start using something from 140 millimeters. Let's see the 140 millimeters. They are much more longer lures. 140 millimeters, different types, different shapes. A lot of them are minnows, 140 millimeters, and if we are comparing them to the something what we start with, to 90 millimeters, so they're going to be completely different in size. And of course, when you are trying to catch a more trophy, more bigger fish, then you start going to something much more bigger than that, which is 170 millimeters. Like for example, there is one of my main lures here. The 3 of them are the main ones: the Nabaron Ima, the Vortex Athlete, Jackson Athlete, and the Kanata, of course, very famous Megabass Kanata, which is I think it was one of the killer lures from the previous seasons. This lure is it's like, I think most of the anglers have it in the box and catches a lot, and it caught a lot of kingfish, different colors, different shapes. It's most of your preference. The Vortex, what's nice about it, it's the same 30 grams, but comparing to Megabass, Megabass has a lower casting distance because of its body shape. It's much more wider, so it's a bit harder to cast it on the further distances, and especially when you're playing it on the currents, it's going to be hard. You will have to properly find the flow, current flow, to play the lure properly. The difference between Vortex in that, so the Vortex, it has a bit different strategy. It is the same 30 grams, but it's a longer body shape, more aerodynamics, so it casts much more further than the Kanata, and at the same time you can play it against the current, with the current. It will not change its playing type. So consider that when you are going, you know, on the high tide, low tide, or on the change of the tides. This might make a difference on the casting. And of course, if you are trying to hunt a trophy kingfish, you know, something more above than 10 kgs and above, you know, from boat or from shore itself, you can consider something like bigger stick baits. They are bigger in shape, bigger in size. Let's compare them again to the something that is from the beginning of the season. They are much more bigger in shape, bigger in size, top water mostly, different types. They are coming around 30-40 grams. And this type of stick baits, they are good to, I mean, you might spend like 3, 4, 5 sessions, you know, searching for a big size kingfish, but these guys might give you a trophy kingfish, because there is always a kingfish around, especially big kingfish around when even the small one is feeding, but they would choose something much more interesting for them to feed. So this type of stick baits, they might bring you some, especially not only kingfish we are talking about, also it could be a queen, it could be big barracuda, and they would be interesting because these guys will make some splash, they will make some noise, they will make some bubble trails, and they are big in size. And especially from the boats, if you are going by boat offshore in Dubai or Abu Dhabi, these areas, and you see kingfish frenzies, this might bring you the bigger one from the flock, you know. So it's a thing to consider. Of course, not everyone might like it, but if you specifically just, you know, you are not about the fish, you are about the trophy, and you want to find the big kingfish, then something like a big stick baits, big poppers, like 30-gram poppers, they are good to try. So this is the basic description to start of the season, so you know what to decide and what type of lures are good for you to start with. As we said, again, just a small like repeat. You start the season with something smaller, from 90 millimeters up to 110 millimeters, and then you start increasing every time the weather gets better, and you just feel that the baby fish grows to a bigger size, the pattern of the kingfish changes, they start feeding on something else, and every time you just going deeper into colder season, then you start increasing the size of the lure. That's a basic explanation. Thank you very much. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, comment them below. We will always reply, or just contact us directly on Jighead Instagram or Facebook, or our WhatsApp on the shop. All these lures and everything I'll put in the description. Everything will be in the description below. You can go check them on the website itself on the jighead.ie. We deliver everywhere in the world, as much as it is possible. If your country is not in the list, you can always ask us to add, and our WhatsApp chat can help you to just identify specific lures, send the links, and to make the purchase. The next, we will try to talk about the gear, and if you have any additional extra questions or anything to add, please comment below. This helps us. So thank you very much, and see you later. And I wish everyone will catch a kingfish this season. Thank you. Bye bye. Stay safe.